Charlie W. Baldwin Day was observed by the fair on Tuesday, September the 6th, 1977, on the day the Black History Museum was dedicated. We believe you will find this evening conversation very inspiring, informative, and enjoyable. So please sit back and get comfortable. By turning off your audio and video camera, it will reserve bandwidth. Thanks again for being here this evening. Now we will hear from Miss Annie Raleigh.
Good evening, everyone. For those that I have not met on this chat, I am Jake Milliken's daughter. He's the third child of Laura Milliken. And growing up, we had occasion to visit Grandma Laura on the third Sunday in August for the annual homecoming at Mitchell's Chapel AME Church. We only came that way maybe once or twice a year, but that was the main day we would come to see Grandma and all of his siblings, which were 8 of them. And we would spend time there for morning worship at Mitchell's Chapel. Then, of course, we had that great big meal outside under the trees and all of that, and meeting everybody and greeting everyone. Then we would leave the revival and go to Grandma Laura's house, the Milliken log cabin, before we would start back home to Greensboro. We didn't spend that much time there because driving to and back, the speed limit was only 35 or 40 miles an hour. So you could imagine it took quite some time. At going, using old 421 to get there, they would take us directly to Mitchell Chapel Church. So when we would visit Grandma that lived in the log cabin, I remember something unique about her house and the fact that she had a refrigerator that was powered by kerosene. And so I did take a look and to check out refrigerators that were powered by kerosene back then, and it said they used that because reliable electricity was not available back in the 40s and the early 50s in rural areas. But I thought that was unique, and I also remember she had a wood-burning stove for meal preparation, and it had a reservoir on one side to heat water. Now, those are things I really remember about Grandma's home. So when we would get there, we would greet her, and then we had to go out and play as kids did because we weren't allowed to be around when the adults were in conversation. They would send us outside to play. And, of course, we would be Laura, May, and Jimmy, and myself and my 2 younger brothers and my sister was there. But I spent my time spending with Laura, May, and Jimmy. We had to be creative because there wasn't much to play with. So I remember us playing hopscotch, and you may not know anything about that game, but if you came up back in those days, we did have a game called hopscotch, and we played hide and seek, and we had to be real creative about that. My brothers always had marbles, and maybe they shot marbles with Jimmy. I just don't know, but we would spend about an hour, and then Daddy would put us in the car, and we'd head back home to Greensboro because, back in that time, we didn't want to be out driving after dark, and we know why that was the case. So that was what I remember about Grandma's log cabin and visiting them on Revival Sunday. There may be other things that come to mind as George is joining us to tell us what he remembers, but thank you for listening. I just thank Ms. Miller for the opportunity to allow me to be a part of this. Thank you.
George?
Very well.
Hello?
Yeah, we're waiting on George.
Whoa, I was waiting to get introduced.
Well, I did introduce you.
You didn't say when to come on. That's all right. All right, here we go. Well, Banks is Miss Rollins, as far as I'm concerned, my cousin. And we always call them banks. I don't know why, but we did. But
Well, I can tell you why now. That went back to my mother's grandmother, which was a
oh,
nickname for her, and I was supposed to look like her. So they gave me that nickname, but I prefer to be called Anna. My name, my choice, okay?
yes, ma'am. All righty. Okay. I think I get my first memory, I guess, of the log cabin was we had there was a porch and there was two. It was a bedroom divided in two sections. Um, as far as heating, we used wood burning stove. For cooking, we used a stove that Miss Riley told us about earlier, and that was my beginning. Um, After that, uh, we used to play with, and especially in the summertime after you got all your work done. In the summertime, we were roaming free, so we have played out in the yard. We would have either the Graffin Reed kids over, the Millikens, that's Barbara, Sammy Jr., Wade, uh, uh, Wade, Elizabeth, Vernal. So all of us would be in the yard playing practically all day, playing softball or hide and go seek. We usually play hide and go seek when it got cool in the evening. But before then, we play a little softball or baseball, whatever we had to play with. Uh, that point on, we had a garden on the, if you're facing it going towards the cabin, we had a garden on the right hand side. And in the backyard, still on the same side, we had a barn for the cow. We had a hog pen for the hogs, and there was a little pond in the back that mother had ducks, and that's about it for that section. Um, as far as from that point on, uh, I couldn't wait to be able to go up to the second floor because I was small and they wouldn't let me up there until I got older. When I got older, I was able to go upstairs and sleep on the second floor with my brother Jimmy. Uh, that was where the guys slept. And I guess when they built the cabin, they had that in mind for the boys to sleep up there, and the females slept down. Uh, yeah, another thing that brought to mind was we always had to walk to the bus all the way out to Old Lady 7. Uh, we walk over there and when you come back, we walk back. Once you got back, you did your nightly chores, which consist of milking the cow, feeding the hogs, getting wood for grandma to burn in the stove, and a regular wood for a fire burning heater to keep us warm. Uh, our next adventure would probably be when we was growing up. We had my father got my mother a washing machine with no electricity. We used uh, kerosene burning motor that generated the activation of the dasher to wash the clothes. And it also had a dryer on there, a wringer. I have no idea how that worked. Oh, yeah. You had to turn it by hand to dry the get the water out of the clothes before you put it in the rinse. Our next thing would be um, basically that's about it. If you saw the picture of grandma and her oldest son, if you looked over his shoulder, you could see wash pot, which I still have today. I think my grandmother passed it down to my mother, and I ended up with it because it was at the mother's house. Any question, anyone?
Well, no, George, we wasn't taking questions. We were just letting you all talk so we could record it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's see. That's about all I can think of right now.
Well, you're going to have to stop talking then because I don't have much to say to you either. I'm just kidding, George. You know better
okay.
than that.
Well, growing up in the log cabin, we did have fun because if we always had mother always got some kind of game. We had a game to play it in the evening, especially in the wintertime. So I never forget my brother Jimmy decided to make some darts. He took a broom straw and put a needle in the end. And on the other end for the wings, he put in cut slits and then put paper in there so it looked like a nice dart and you could just sling it across the room. However, we had the board piece of paper. We didn't have a board. We had a piece of paper with a target drawn on it. And we stand on the other side of the stove and throw it over to hit the dart. However, my father was sitting between the dartboard and us. So me tried my luck at it and stuck my father in his lip. We had to go to bed after that because he got very upset. He was sitting there sleeping. I guess he was tired, but that was one of the funny things that we had. Let's see what else. The guys came over. Oh, another thing we used to do in the evening time, especially in the summer months, when maybe JD may be visiting us. That was the Grafton Reed. He lived on the other side of it. And so it got dark and we had to walk we say, okay, we'll go with a piece of the way home, right? We end up talking. Next thing we know, we at JD's house. He said, okay, I'll walk with you half the way back. Okay. We got to talking. Next thing we know, we're back at the house. So we just walked half the way and said, you got to go on your own. We going back because otherwise we've been walking all night. But we really enjoyed having fun there because we could go climb trees. We could go pick grapes. And JD had horses. His father did anyway. So we used to ride in a wagon or ride the horses, which was great. We didn't have a horse. The only livestock we had was a cow and some hogs. And the ducks, of course. And the fox was eating them. Every time the ducks go in, all of them walk in a row. So the fox was smart. He'd take off the last one. So we end up with 2 ducks. We had about 8. And eventually the fox got them also. That's about it.
Okay. Well, at this time, we will hear from John Lawrence Horton.
Oh, excuse me. much blessings to you and your family. My name is John, and some of the cats around the neighborhood used to call me Rock, but I call myself a family person to everybody who was in the Milliken family and the Baldwin family. I used to love to eat out on Sunday. And back in those days, eating out on Sunday means going to somebody's house.
Yep.
So I went to some houses around, from the Baldwin family up north of on 87, back down to Mr. Charlie and Miss Sarah on that end. Sometimes I could sneak into the Tommy Fernan house, and sometimes I get lucky, go to George's house. Sometimes I get lucky and go somewhere else. But it was like a pretty good life. You grow up with people that you enjoy being around. And I found out in early life that people that did that loved those people. And George was one of my best friends. Jimmy was one of my best friends. Laura May, Herbert Jr., Patsy. I knew everybody over there in the neighborhood. So that was my joy and my treat to have with those people on my side, I would always say, because I had somebody to talk to run at, shout out loud at, and sometimes meet them at church. I would see them at Mitchell Chapel. Every now and then, somebody from the family would come down to Russell Chapel Church, and that was a really, really, really good session when you had that done. But the main thing that kept me in connection with the family, your family as well as my family, is that this guy older than me, and he used to talk to me like I was a grown guy, I guess, was Mr. Charlie Baldwin, and he was one of my favorite persons. One of the things I liked about Mr. Charlie, he let me drive his truck. My dad had a truck, but he wouldn't let me get in it. He'd get on the back side of it, but Mr. Charlie would let me drive. But we had a good time, and I would come over and do some work with him, and I ran into George and Roscoe and Jimmy and Herbert Jr. and a whole lot of people that we connected because of Mr. Charlie. Charlie was he just hooked you up with something. If it was not what you need to do in school, what you need to do on the job, everything he had his own way about being nice to you and telling you what you should do. So that being said, he sometimes didn't keep an eye on George and me and Rock. We'd be out there and either stealing. I don't think that was the right word for it, but he had these little pecan trees in his yard, and I got caught 4 or 5 times with them little pecans. They was little bitty, like they wasn't like the big ones. They was little, but you had to eat about 15 or 20 of them to know you ate pecans. So we did that, and some of the boys in high school, like myself and George, and then him, we helped Mr. Charlie turn his produce into his profit, and not his property, but his livelihood. He taught us how to cut wood. He always would have us give a little $1 or $2 or here and there to do a little work on the farm. George always used to say that he didn't like cutting grass, and in the county you had to cut grass. So if you did, it would go up to your neck. But when you went out to cut them, you had a push lawnmower, not a power lawnmower, but a lawnmower. But you had to push it. If the grass was 3 inches, you had to push through it. If it was 6, 8 inches deep, you had to cut it that way too, So how did you arrange that? You just pushed and pushed and pushed. So that was how that went down. But being really solemn about the family that we're talking about, they were people that you could always depend on. Um, and the little neighborhood around there where we lived, all of us had this little neighborhood. It was how well respected everybody in those families were. It was not, nobody was better than nobody else. Nobody was worse than anybody else. We were all in the same boat, and we appreciated each other. And we didn't see each other every day either, unless it was at school. But that was part of our growing up, and I'm so proud that the majority of the people that I grew up with, and seen, and went to school with, turned out to be very fine family. So that's what I got out of the Milliken family. Some bloodline, some not such a bloodline, was handed down to me. But that's the way it went. And I want to thank all of the family members that I grew up with and chased around and stuff like that. I appreciate you, and I think the world of all of you. So that's about all I can muster at this time, and thank you for your time and my muttering and whatever. So appreciate y'all hanging there. Good luck, family. Love you too.
Okay. Thank you. Miss Raleigh, do you have anything else that you would like to say?
Well, thinking back when we would come visit Grandma, and she was very loving, as my dad was a very loving person too. She'd always want to give a kiss to us before we would leave. And my brothers did not want to get that kiss from Grandma because Grandma used snuff, and they just was not going to do that. So my dad would make them come back so Grandma could give them a kiss. But they'd run, and he'd make them come back and get that kiss from Grandma. I won't forget that. It kind of stood out for me right there. But, they were loving people. They believed in embracing and showing each other that they loved them. My dad didn't get down there often, but he was in Greensboro. And as often as he could go, sometimes without the family going, he would make his way to see his mother and his family because he had one sister here in Greensboro, and all the rest of the family, I think, kind of stayed there in Chatham County. The oldest one, named Hayes, he left Chatham County and he moved to New Jersey, but he would come and spend time with Dad, and I guess when he could, he would go back and see Grandpa. He was the oldest of the 8. Now, he's got granddaughters here in Greensboro that I communicate with, a granddaughter and a grandson still living here in Greensboro, and I do communicate with them. So I will share with them all this going on about the Milliken cabin, and hopefully they will be interested enough to come that way when we have the family reunion. I certainly hope so. My sister is very feeble, and I don't know whether she'll be able to come or not, but I have a son named David that worked with some of the Brooks family at FedEx for 32 years, and he often talks about one of the girls that's in the Brooks family. So he and I had talked about it. So our plan is to come when they have the family reunion in August. But Grandma and the kids, I won't forget that they would run. And she said, come back here. Come back here. And of course, my daddy would make them come back and get that kiss. But they did not want Grandma to kiss them. I thought that was kind of funny.
Okay. Thank you so much. George, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah. One thing with Mr. Charlie, I always call him Mr. Charlie. And when Lawrence and I will be working, man, you're right. You drive his truck, we drive the tractor, and load that hay. Oh my God. We used to get at least 3 or 4 loads out a day. But, and the other thing was cutting that grass. Oh my God. And we had to push it now, handle on both sides. So one of us on one side, one on the other. We push, maybe cut an inch or two, and then back up and try again. But we got it done. Take a day. But I really had fun with John. And then we end up playing football together. So I had 3 years of football with him. 2 years. Yeah. So that's our story.
That was life then, Bo. That was real life.
Yeah.
Okay. John Lawrence, you have anything else you would like to add?
Well, I hope somebody gives me a surprise card to come by and celebrate Milliken Family Reunion this year.
Oh, okay.
Would you?
That would be George. George, you were going to invite him to come back to the
Oh yeah, he's a
family
family.
reunion.
Anytime he get ready. Yeah.
Well, I'll be ready and hoping
Yeah.
to see
Yes.
all of you guys, and
Yeah.
girls, and people. So, thank you.
In a log cabin located in the location you already know about. And I was there until I was like 8, I think. I grew up there, and what I did before I started school, I followed my grandmother around every day, and I learned how to bake when I was like 5 and a half, 6 years old. I was baking cakes. Um, that's one aspect of my life. The other one is we never was needed anything. We always had plenty of food, toys to play with, and as far as I'm concerned, I had no idea what the log cabin was. Only different was we didn't have lights, and that lights wasn't even offered in that area at the time. So after we moved, uh, we did have lights, but that's it. Everything else remained the status quo. What's next? As far as growing up, after I started the school, we used to play in the yard, and all the neighbors would come around, play with our toys and stuff. And that's how we grew up, sharing everything. If somebody needs something, and we would give it to them or help them get what they needed. Uh, Grandma was good about that. She always made sure if you were hungry, come by. She make sure you had food to eat. Um, and summer months, we always, yeah, like I said, have people coming over, and we would play in the yard. When we was walking down that road there, memory served me correctly. Where that house is where the log cabin was. You know the house that we didn't go down to that house on that road I was on,
Uh-huh.
where I said turn and went to the house.
Uh-huh.
The house that's right down there is
Uh-huh.
approximately where the log cabin was.
Okay.
So I don't know uh, how we could have got in there to see that, but that's where it was. And in the front of that log cabin, we had a playground, which we used part of the driveway, and we played softball and hopscotch and hell over and hide and go seek. Those are our games. We made our own games up sometimes, or got them from our mother or grandmother. So being born in a log cabin, I didn't see any difference. Well, I was born in a log cabin, any other place. Uh, Probably like Abe Lincoln. He was born in a log cabin and he became president. I didn't become president of the United States, but I became president of my companies. So that's the way it looks. We had a pretty good education at the time. That was one thing. You didn't miss any days out of school. You had to go to school. But no place else to go. I enjoyed going to school because it gave me something to do. Uh, what else did we had to do around that? The other thing we had to do was provide wood for the. We had to get two types of wood. One for the kitchen stove, and we had to have wood for the heating heater that was in the basic family room. I would call it the family room because everything else went in there. And that's how the house was heated and the food was prepared um, by using those two units. The other thing that was unique about it, we had a washing machine uh, with a that worked like an electric washing machine, but it ran powered by kerosene. So it does everything. It did the agitating, and it had the dryers up at the top where you put the clothes in and the thing spin around and dry them. No, not totally, but it get the excess water out. And then we would put them on the clothesline, which was also in front of the house. Uh, you saw that black pot out there in that picture, I think. That's what grandmother used to use to boil the clothes, the white clothes, make them white. Then they brought them down to the cabin, put them in the washing machine and washed them and hung them out on the clothesline, which was back out in the front of the house also. So the front of the house was pretty much a work area, and on the you know, for washing and drying clothes. And on the right right hand side, coming towards the cabin, we had a garden over there, and there was I forgot what kind of tree that was. It was I forgot what type of tree, but it had like blue little berries of it, and the birds you could they are doing well. This is May and June. They used to show up there, lots of them, and sometimes we would have bird pie stew because mother would go out and shoot a couple of them for us. Grandma loved that stuff, boy, I tell you. And what else we did? We had hogs. We had our own cow, so we didn't have to worry about buying milk. We had milk, butter, and we had the pigs that we had meat for the whole season. To the next year, we'd kill another hog or two hogs. It depends on how big they had gotten. So if we had extra meat and stuff, we'd always share it because they didn't have any place to keep it other than the smokehouse. Which that was pretty good, man. The meat didn't spoil in there. They put salt and all a bunch of stuff on it, put it in a bag. It was just like dried meat, but when you cut it, in the inside was moist. Uh, what else we did? We used to, when the guys come over to play with us, we had this thing about, we'll walk with you a piece of the way home. That was what we would say. And we end up walking. Next thing you know, we at the other guy's house. So the guy said, okay, we'll walk with you a piece of the way back. That's JD, the graphic. And Magdalene and Wade and them used to do the same thing, walk a piece of the way. Then we end up walking back and forth. Then we get halfway back to the house and say, oh, we're going home now. It'll be 10 o'clock. You know, it's past bedtime. But that was during the summer months. No flashlight, no learning, just walking by the moonlight. So that was pretty much what we did. If anybody have any questions, I can go into more detail. I can tell you one thing. Um, I couldn't wait till I got old enough to go up to the bedroom where the guys slept. I just couldn't wait. Crawling up the steps because I was so small, I couldn't even go up the steps. And they wouldn't allow me to go up there until I got older, where I could get on the steps and walk up. But once I got up there, it wasn't all of that. It was just, we had a lot of space up there. And just the two of us at the time, Jimmy and myself. And that's where we spent our nights. What else? I guess that's about it. Anybody have any questions? I'll be more than happy to enlighten you if I can, if I remember. But pretty good memory so far.
I'm
Carol?
wondering if you have any family stories, any stories about the Bob who built the log cabin, or any family stories about how you came to be in the log cabin.
No, I just was there, I guess, because my grandmother was the person that inherited the house because her sister moved out and got married. And so she was the last one there, which means that she took control of the house. So her and mom was there. So I guess mom got married and she just stayed with grandma. And that my father and my mother produced our family from there. As far as, I know one thing, Grandpa. I never met him. My great grandfather, I never met him. But from what I was told, he carved each one of those logs and shaved them down by hand back in the day, and it made them fit perfectly in those slots. And from that point, he filled it with red clay because they didn't, at the point, at that time, I don't even think they had concrete. The only problem with that is some points during the winter, you might lose a little spot here and there, and you have to fill it back up during the summer months when you can get some nice clay and it wasn't frozen. And you mix that up to like a paste, put it there, and a couple of hours it's hard like a brick. So that was the only thing I knew about the cabin per se as far as maintenance is concerned. And it also had a tin roof, which when it rained, boy, what a beautiful sound. Yeah, it gets a good sleep during that time. That's it for that, as far as I know. About the cabin. Any other details? I don't know. I wasn't privileged to all of that info.
Okay. Well, seems like we're at the end. We must remember and pass on our history for the generations to come. Our next event will be a book discussion of James, Saturday, May the 30th at the Chatham County Library. Please come. I would like to give thanks to the Chatham Historical Association for the impressive job of recording a lot of the first, second, and third generation of the Milliken history. Also, special thanks to our guests tonight, Miss Anna Raleigh, Mr. George Dark, and Mr. John Lawrence Horton, and Our audio and video support, Ms. Joe Coro. Finally, thanks again to each of you for being here this evening, and have a wonderful evening and safe weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thank you, Mary. That was
Safe.
very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.